Okay guys, so what we've got here is we just took a ruler and measured like every 2 inches across that way for 13 marks, and we came down this way 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 marks, and then we came up 1, so that's 12, 13, 14, 15 marks roughly, 1-inch marks on a piece of paper. All you're doing is giving yourself an idea, a visual idea of what this thing looks like right now. And this is going to help you in a couple seconds here of where this should be. So let's plot this thing. Now you guys all knew graphing in school. So this is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Those numbers represent the names or station numbers of the stakes that you put in going up the road. Okay, so that's what you can call that. Those are station numbers, basically, the stations. And you want to keep it to some sort of scale. It doesn't have to be the same scale either way. That's not how profiles are made. However, it would help you if you could make the same scale either way. In other words, 1 inch apart, or if you're going to go 2 inch apart here, you could go 2 inch apart here. But because I've looked at so many drawings in my life, this is actually how they're made. So just bear with me. So I'm given all these points numbers to get from 2250 up to 2263. That's where we need to be able to get, all right, to show our plotted line here. So like I say, it's similar to a graph. So number 1 is 2251.88, okay? So 2251 and 88 would be somewhere on the first mark about right here. So we'll just put a little X there. That's the first line, okay? Then the second line, that's number 2 station, is 2252.80. So 2252 and 80, now we're interpolating here. In other words, we're taking a guess about how this goes. Then 2256.69, which is over here. 2256.69 would be somewhere about right there, all right? 2257.99, so 2257.99 is somewhere near here. All I'm doing is lining this up basically with the station that's on here, number 4. Okay, number 4 is what I'm using, and I'm using this elevation. I'm corresponding over in here. So 2257.99 is almost 2258, so I'm basically putting that right there. And then I'm going to keep doing here. 2259 would be number 5. Okay, where are we at here? 2259.81, so you're looking at about right there. And then 22, let's see, that's number 7. So 2260.61, so it would be about here. Okay, coming across. We're doing this just like you do a graph. 2261.77, 2261. So 77 for number 8 is going to be somewhere, oh, I'd say about right there. That's number 8. Then number 9 is 2262.29. So 62.29 is somewhere, oh, I want to say right there. Well, I may have to move these numbers up. So I'm going to do that real quick so they're out of my way. So this is station 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. That corresponds to these lines. Alright, so then we go number 10 is 2262.47. So 2262.47 is actually about right here again. Okay, then 2267 or 62.97. Now these things are getting very close to one another. So this is slightly higher, not much higher. 2263. Okay, so we're right at this mark here. And then 2263.40, which would put us about 63 and 40 would be about there. Now, if you look at that, if you look at this really closely and you join the lines, this is the actual line of the ground that you have at this point to work with. Okay? This is the ground this is how the ground is shaped coming down that driveway. Now this may look steep to you, but remember, we're not to scale this direction like we are this one. But it doesn't matter, because if you look here, you'll see that this is either level to or slightly higher than this one. just looking at that. So what you want to do is let's just draw a line to show how we'd like to have the water go. So I'm going to take a blue marker, and what we want to do is we want to be down low enough here that the water can have some kind of flow and end up coming over here somewhere. So since there's positive flow right here all the way from 9 down, we'll go to the next one, and let's just say number 8 here, okay? So let's say number 8, and we want to come out right at 8. And then we can just leave the water run down the edge of the road as it already is. We could make a swale or a little bit of a ditch, just grade the road off slanted towards that side of the road. That would be fine. But here's our problem. This is our critical area from here to here. We need to make the water run downhill when it can't, because this is higher than this. So what you want to do is look at that, and let's say we drop this down 6 inches, okay, or say 50/100ths, which would put this about right here. Okay, so now we have that there, so we can draw a line from here then straight to that, okay? And what we can do here is figure out what we need to, where we need to drop these marks that we have to make this line flow evenly from where the water's sitting to where the water will run downhill. So what you can do is you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 segments, okay? So 5 segments, and then what you have to do here is take the number 8. You have to take the number 8 elevation, and you want to subtract that from this elevation, all right? So number 8 is 2261.77. 2261.77. Okay, so you're going to subtract the highest elevation, and you're going to subtract the number 8 elevation from it, because that's where you want to end up. Okay guys, so then in doing that math there, we're taking the highest elevation, which is number 13, and we're subtracting the elevation we want to get to. This is our particular problem that we had. You may have another problem, but you can use this way to solve your problem. So number 8 is where we want to get to with the water, because once we get to 8, it's all downhill from there, as they say. So 2263.40 minus number 8's elevation, which is got it in the book here, 2261.77, gives me 1.63 feet. Okay, so between here and there, I have 1.63 feet that I have to play with. Okay guys, so let me explain this again. I'll re-explain what I explained the first time, and then we'll just go down off of here. Alright, so the beginning elevation up here at the very end is 2263.40. We need to drop that down at least a half of a foot, which is 0.50 in engineer scale. So we're going to drop that down roughly 6 inches, or 0.50, okay, in engineer scale. So that we subtract the 50 from that, and it gives us 2262.90. So 2262.90 then is the elevation of this starting spot. Then we're going to drop down and take 32 from each one of these. So 32 off of, let's see, 32 off of number 12 would be 2763, and we're going to drop down 32. Actually, let me rephrase that. So this first X right here where the blue is 2262.90. Alright, we're going to subtract from that 32. Alright, so we put 32 from that, gives us 2262.58, 2262.26. We're subtracting 32 from all of these. Finally, that'll give us an elevation down here of 2261.30, which you can see there's constant flow going downhill, and this from here on it's going to run downhill. We don't need to worry about that. It's right here that we need to correct. Okay, that's the problem. Alright, so we take the first station, we dropped it down half of a foot, 2262.90, and then we subtract it from the 2262.90, 0.32 feet. We're subtracting that from 2262.90 to get this, subtract it again, get this, subtract it again, get that, and so on, okay? That's how we got these different elevations. Alright, so now that's our design. So we've actually designed the elevations for this swale. And we know that it's going to run downhill over here almost no matter what we do, it's going to run downhill from here down. This is just a critical spot. So now here's how you go about putting these things onto the stake that we drove in the ground. Okay guys, so now the next step we're going to take, I'm prior military, so I'm confused between IH and HI, which is instrument height or height of the instrument. I forget which one is military, and I'm not going to worry about it now. I just confuse the students sometimes, but either one is the height of the instrument. So if you remember, the elevation of our instrument was here. We're going to assume that the instrument's still setting up, okay? So the tripod's still up there with the level on it. Alright, so once we have 2265, we know that that's what the level is. Now we have to get these numbers. So our first stake has to reflect somehow this elevation. So here's what we're going to do. Guys, before I go any further, the one thing I want to mention to you is that I circled what's known as the proposed grades, the proposed elevation. In other words, these elevations, this one is 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. These are the proposed elevations. That's what we want them to be in order to make this water flow downhill. Okay guys, so the next thing that we want to do here is we have a stake, and I drew a stake here. We have a series of stakes, one at 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, and 13, okay? So what you need to do is you need to take your instrument and look at the stake. Now for number 8, and we did the math over here, which you can see. It's right here. Right here. Okay, there you go. Let me get you down there a little bit. Okay, so you can see the math there. Alright, so the first stake, number 8, we took and added to the grade that we want, the proposed grade, 2261.30, which is the same as the number 8 stake grade. And we want to add 3 feet to that. And we're going to add 3 feet to all those elevations because we're going to be able to tie a string then from one stake to the other and read 3 feet down in order to get the bottom of the ditch. So the first grade here is going to be minus 70, okay, or 0.70. So let me move you over here. I'm just going to read this to you, and here's what this means. Let me just get you on there. Yeah. So you're going to look at the number 8 stake, all right? And when you're looking at it, you're looking at 2265. So what you want to do is put a little tick mark there. You're using your level. The instrument guy is going to tell you what he's seeing. What you do is you take your black marker and go up or down according to what he tells you when you put a little tick mark. Once you put that little tick mark in there, then you know from your papers that you have to go down minus 70. So we're going to come down to wherever minus 70 is. We're going to put a check mark. Sometimes people call it a crow's foot. I call it a check mark. And we're going to say cut C 3 feet. So now you can tie a string from this. So then we have a series of stakes here. So I'll draw the stakes and go. Okay guys, so what I want to show you here are these numbers in blue again. And you should be able to see them there. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay. So here's what I did here. I took the elevations of the proposed grades. In other words, 2262.90 is stake number 13. That's where the end of the ditch is. Number 12, 11, 10, 9, and 8. That's the station number, the stake number. Okay? Now we know that the station was in the middle of the road, but we're putting a flag or a stake 5 feet in roughly, and that's what we're calling a station now. So number 13, we're going to add 3 feet to all these elevations because we don't want to have to make any changes once we put these marks. So like I said, once you sight these in there, and I'll show you how to do it in a second, all you do is tie a string from one stake mark to the next mark, and that'll give you a 3-foot cut off of the stake to get to the bottom of the ditch. Okay, so let's come over here. Alright, so I drew in a stake. You have a stake there, and actually it's not a real helpful to have these stakes, but it's close. Alright, so what you're looking at here is the first one over there is plus 90. Okay, so if let me mark this off or erase this here. I'm going to start back here. This is number 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, and 8. Guys, in a classroom setting, this would go a lot slower, and we'd have a chance to go over things a little more explicitly, but since we're not in a classroom, and I'm doing this on YouTube, just to help somebody out, and I know there's a couple or a few, not very many guys need to know this, but it's helpful. Alright, so we're going to look at number 13, and up there it says plus 90. So let's say the rod man tells me that he's looking here. Remember, he's going to tell me where he's aiming at this rod, or stake. He's going to look at this stake, he's going to be looking at it at 265, yeah, 2265. So he's going to stop me with a pencil. So let's say he says to me, okay, right there is where I'm seeing. Alright, I put a tick mark, I take my engineer's rule out, and I measure up 90, and I put a mark. I go like this, I put C3 for cut 3 feet, okay? It's hard for me to write inside here with these big markers, but anyway, this is what I'm doing. So then the next mark, again, over there the elevation is 0.58, okay? So it's plus 0.58. So if he tells me he's reading, like let's say here, if that's where he's reading, I go to 0.58 and I put a mark, okay? These marks are helpful because it's always a cut 3, that's the good thing. And then what that helps you to do is tie a string from here to there, and it gives you the grade that you need to have. Alright? So technically, let's just go back here for a second. Technically, this line here of the string will follow this path that you're looking at here. So I'm just going to take and draw that path in there. Let's say it's like that. Okay? So that means that we'll have a mark here, we'll have a mark here, we'll have a mark here, here, and here, and off of all of those is a cut 3. Cut 3, cut 3, cut 3. What that does is gives you 3 foot down to an even line, which is this blue line here. Alright? That's how you go about getting that surveying done as far as that little project goes. There is a whole lot to surveying and numbers that is not being introduced to you here. This is just one little phase of knowing how to do some surveying, and project managers should have a surveying class or two to understand, first of all, how to read stakes, to know that C-3 means something, and that if it has a number on it like STA, and the way that a stake would be written out there, just to show you, I'll just make the stake a little bit bigger so I can write on it. If the stake was like this, you might have something like STA 8. So that's station number 8, and then somewhere down here you would have your mark cut 3. Okay? Or if you had to fill, it would be fill 3, F3, but in this case it's cut 3. And like I say, you just wrap the string around every one of these, pull it taut, go from one mark to the other, and this will give you a nice even line of grade to get rid of the water that you're trying to get rid of in your swale. So guys, I know that this might be a little bit confusing. I didn't take a whole lot of time on it. I'm assuming 99% of you know nothing about surveying. There's a couple guys out there who might. You guys all know arithmetic, so you know this is how you use it. So real quickly, once we did the profile, which was to label all the elevations from the lower mark 2251 and went down to 2250, I put an X, and then I went up in consecutive 1 foot marks. I put an X like a graph, so at whatever this elevation is, 2251, I started my point. Okay, 88, I started a point, then the next one, next one, next one. Each one gets an X. Once you look at that, you can see that there's a problem here, that it's actually going downhill. Okay, that holds water back. Going downhill this way rather than downhill that way. If it wasn't for this rise here, we could make this water go that way. It would go that way, but the rise is there, and it's stopping this water from leaving this area. Alright, so anyway, You put in your profile, you draw your profile, put in your station numbers, put your elevations of what's existing just like you would on a graph, and then propose something that's going to make the water flow downhill. That's what I've done there. So hopefully that this could be understood by you guys. It's really not that hard. So just do all the arithmetic that has to be done and you can come up with this same thing. Now I'm not saying that there's not better ways of doing this or other ways of doing this. There is. You can do this in other ways. You don't have to have that cut 9. You could put a sheet there, put a mark on the paper and tell the person, you know, like I could put a mark on here. I could use like any elevation I want. Put a mark on here. I could just use 265. I could put the 2265 mark on here and then give the person a piece of paper and say things like plus 90, plus 58, plus 26, minus 0.06, and so on. But I didn't. I decided to make it easy for myself and just have a cut for from the string. Okay, again guys, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask them. I'll see if I can answer them. So, have a good one. Bye. Okay guys, and as always,
don't forget to like the video, comment, and subscribe as well. Have a good one.
Bye.
Yo, those squirrels are cool. They just jump from the one to the other. Now he's on the white.